Fantasy fanfiction. Marvel. One answer, the Avengers all cried. Chapter 61. Barton, I can win the battle, here comes. Tony Stark is here, this time at Stark Industries press conference. He also specifically asked Sue for a third view live broadcast, saying that he wanted to give it to us a surprise. I want to see what this surprise is. Close black lens bracket. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, take a look. Hope is a surprise, not a fright. Close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting. I jumped off the cliff, by the way. Did Sue and Nick Fury go to the scene? I knew I had gone to the scene too. Wanda and Pietro have to go to school today. It would be boring for me to stay at home alone. Close black lens bracket. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, I envy you in one place, but maybe you should also envy me. After all, although I am poor and simple here, it is very suitable for seclusion. Close black lens bracket. The top floor of Stark Industry, the scene of the press conference. Wow, there are so many people here. On stage. Looking at the hundreds of news media and reporters below, Tony Stark asked jokingly, so, this time you came to see me making a fool of myself, and then reported that you went out to cheat clicks. Listening to Tony Stark's words, the reporters off the court instantly laughed. Over the years, they haven't reported less about Tony Stark's ugly things, and even some tabloid media survived on Tony Stark's off-site news. Well, you won. I promise you will get a shocking news this time. Looking at the atmosphere of the reporters in the audience, after he was enthusiastic by his own words, Tony Stark spread his hands and said, but all these things have to be done slowly. They originally gave me a speech, but I don't want to follow their ideas. Looking at the card of the speech in his hand, Tony Stark threw the card on the ground very smartly. Seeing this scene, countless reporters began to take pictures in an instant, and some photographers also began to concentrate on shooting Tony Stark, waiting for him to continue. In fact, they think they already know the billionaire in front of them, the playboy Tony Stark. As long as he does this, then the next words will definitely shock people's attention. Don't Tony Stark know what these reporters are thinking? He definitely knew it, but he didn't care. After all, the previous images were all created by him, so he was used to it a long time ago. Towards the back of the reporter, Su Ching, who was standing side by side with Nick Fury, blinked his right eye, and then Tony Stark put his hands on the podium and slowly said, when did I start researching weapons? Perhaps, all of this originated from my father. As you know, my father is a genius, once known as the greatest genius of the last century. Seriously, I had no interest in researching various weapons at that time, but I really didn't like my dad's view of scientific research and various experiments being more important than family. So, I have always wanted to prove that I am smarter and more intelligent than him. As he said, his father, Howard Stark, came to mind unconsciously. When he and my mother were still alive, although he never missed every festival, he never advanced it. Even on the day of the festival, he was able to come back very late. Definitely, these are just some important festivals. As for me, Tony Stark spread his hands. He rarely cares about my affairs, no matter how I rank first in school, no matter how many peers I have surpassed, even if I shot out the circuit board when I was 4 years old, 6 years old. I have developed my own engine. But every time, he just took a look, and then said, oh, not bad. Raising his eyebrows and pretending that he doesn't care about anything, Tony Stark acted like his father Howard Stark. Go on, I'm going to research new things. So I thought at that time, I must surpass him in all aspects and fields, and then find an opportunity to say to him, oh, keep on going, I'm going to research new things. Seeing Tony Stark's lively performance, the reporters below burst into laughter. Hearing these laughter, Tony Stark blinked and laughed. However, in this smile, there is some reluctance, but it is difficult for people to notice. Until later, my father and mother died in a car accident on that cold winter night. The voice gradually became a little flat, and there was no trace of joking in Tony Stark's tone. For an instant, at that time, I felt that the sky was about to collapse. I can no longer act like a baby with my mother, show off my achievements with my mother, nor can I tell my father, look, I am smarter than you, and I am more worthy of the title of genius. Hearing Tony Stark's words, the scene of the press conference, which was still bursting with laughter, now gradually became silent. Some people took pictures with their cameras, and used the cameras to record videos of Tony Stark. But more reporters continue to quietly listen to what Tony Stark wants to say next. For them, it is not easy to hear Tony Stark's speech like analyzing the heart. After all, each of them knows what Tony Stark is and what a fool he is. He was right. I didn't expect Tony Stark to have the ability to speak. At the end of the venue, Nick Fury held his hands, looked at Su-Ching beside him and said with a smile, "Mr. Nick Fury, as a courtesy, please keep quiet and listen." Listening to Nick Fury around him continuing to chat with himself constantly, Su-Ching can only quietly ask Nick Fury to shut up. Although this is the first time I met him. But this braised egghead is constantly nagging in his ears. Su-Ching regretted not having accepted Tony Stark's invitation and entered the backstage. Who knew that I could come across this stuff in the venue? In the movie, isn't this guy in Tony's villa hiding in the dark pretending to be mysterious? Why did you come here directly? I don't really think that if he has an answering chat room, he will be able to get acquainted with it after a few days of chatting in it. If you have this time, look for the frozen body of Steve Rogers, isn't it? Okay. Let's wait for Tony to finish. Then the three of us will have a good chat. This may be the first time that the three of us have met each other. I think we will have a very happy chat. Listening to Su-Ching's words, Nick Fury smiled, and then spoke. Asterisk. That's when I started on the path of my father. Looking at the reporters in the audience, Tony Stark said softly, "The year I took over Stark Industries, at the moment Stark Industries was not the #1 weapon supplier department. This may be something my parents left me thinking, so I decided to build Stark Industry into the #1 ranking. Later, you all know that Hanmer Industries was crushed to death by me, and other weapon manufacturing companies, in front of me Tony Stark, simply couldn't lift their heads. I thought I did it to make my father and my mother proud. But in fact, is it really the case?" Having said that, Tony Stark raised his hand and pressed a button on the remote control. Then, a picture appeared on the big screen behind him. First of all, there are pictures of countless villages being destroyed, many people tragically dying, displacement, and family destruction. Look, these are caused by weapons made by Stark Industries. Spreading his hands, at the moment Tony Stark's face does not bear the kind of freehand expression just now. I can be sure and responsible to tell you that these are all caused by the weapons I personally developed. Although, this was not caused by me personally, but in fact, people have been using private channels to send weapons out of Stark Industry over the years. And what you are seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. Looking at the tragic pictures on the big screen, all reporters pressed their cameras frantically at this moment. Everyone is already clear at this moment. I am afraid that today, Tony Stark will make a very crazy decision. Otherwise, he will not publish these pictures. Backstage, in a room. Watching all this through the TV screen hanging on the wall, some Stark Industry board members are all going crazy at the moment. What the hell does Tony Stark want to do? Some people even wanted to get up right now, ran to the front and pulled the crazy Tony Stark back. However, the security personnel of Stark Industries who Peebo had brought him stopped him. "Everyone, please stay calm. I know what you want to do at the moment, but according to Tony, I can't let you destroy it before the press conference is over." Directing the security members one by one, blocking all the intersections, Peebo looked at these members of the board of directors and said seriously. Yes, all of this was discussed by two people. Tony Stark deliberately showed these pictures to these reporters. Not surprisingly, the press conference is over, with the blessing of these pictures. So the stock of Stark Industries will definitely fall faster than simply announcing the idea of closing the Stark Industrial Weapon Manufacturing Department. In fact, all of this was Tony's attention, Peebo knew. According to the conversation between him and Su-Ching, this is called not breaking and not standing. Only in this way can the value of these Stark Industry board members drop. Only in this way, looking at the stocks that are falling day by day, these people will be heartbroken to throw out the shares in their hands to achieve the purpose of stopping the loss in time, and will not sink to the bottom with Stark Industry. Only in this way can Tony have the opportunity to take back all the shares of Stark Industries without a bloodshed. truly turn the Stark industry of Nuovo into his own words. Although this will cause great losses, it is not broken or standing. Both Su Ching and Tony believe that once the battle armor is announced to those people, it is announced that Tony Stark is Iron Man. Wearing a battle armor in Tony, he will publish all the videos of weapons that he has sold out through Obadiah Stein's private channels. Then Stark Industries will be back on track. Although, the early stage will cause very distressing, and the stock price will evaporate. But not so. How can these old foxes, who have great power behind them, throw away the shares of Stark Industries in their hands? Looking at a group of board members who are anxious and roaring in anger, Peebo orders people to stay at the door of the room. No one is allowed to go out and disturb Tony's press conference. At the same time, at this moment, Jarvis directly blocked the cell phone signal in the entire room. The press conference site. Seeing this scene, Nick Fury frowned suddenly. Just wanted to say something, but Su Ching directly stopped him. Everything is planned, don't worry. Answer the questions in the chat room. Barton, I can win the battle. Is this what Tony is talking about? Is this a surprise? No matter how you look at it, this is a fright. Who will translate for me? What is the special surprise? Close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting. I jump off the cliff, keep watching. I always feel that Tony is going to make a big news today. Close black lens bracket. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her. Looking at these tragic pictures, I think I will be on Tony's side. This has nothing to do with money. Close black lens bracket. Strange, I'm here to negotiate. At Steve Rogers, Captain, you don't know how much money will be lost to Stark Industry if Tony does this. Close black lens bracket. The press conference site. Seeing the reporter in an uproar, Tony Stark's mouth suddenly bends. Very good, the effect is very good. You know, the culprit responsible for all this is the former executive director of Stark Industries, Obadiah Stein. Also the person I have trusted the most. Turned around and glanced at the tragic picture behind him. Tony Stark couldn't help sighing inwardly. Although these pictures were all made by himself to Jarvis, Tony knows that all of these have actually happened in the past. I don't know how you feel when you see these pictures, but I think anyone with a conscience will be deeply shocked after seeing these pictures. The same is true for me, not only shocked, but more, there is also a trace of guilt, although none of this was caused by my own hands. Although, I can't do anything about it. But I think, anyone who has even a trace of conscience in his heart should stand up and do something. Turning his head and looking at the reporter below, Tony Stark pursed his mouth, then looked firm and said seriously, so I hereby announce that Stark Industries will no longer manufacture or sell any weapons. And, permanently close the Stark Industrial Weapons Manufacturing Department until we find a new research direction. Even before that, Stark Industries stock will evaporate drastically, making Stark Industries bankrupt. But, I don't compromise. Asterisk. Tony Stark's words caused an uproar. Although many reporters will announce a major decision after he just released the photos. However, he did not expect that he directly announced the closure of Stark's Industrial Weapons Manufacturing Department. Almost instantly, all the reporters started asking Tony Stark questions. But listening to the roaring reporter team below, Tony Stark ignored them, but directly said, in addition, I have to announce one more thing. Obadiah Stine, using his status as an executive director, sold Stark Industrial Weapons through private channels without authorization over the years, causing countless people to be in a miserable situation. So I am here to announce that Obadiah Stine has been deprived of all Stark Industries status and has been arrested. At the same time, I will use all my methods to destroy all the weapons he has sold over the years. Listening to the on-site reporters' uproar, the entire press conference was all in a mess at the moment. Nick Fury frowned and asked Su Ching next to him. Just now Tony Stark said that he wants to use all means to destroy the weapons sold by Obadiah Stine over the years. Does he already have a solution? It's not that there is a way, but it has been done, and the first batch of weapons on the Ahan Desert has already been destroyed by him. Looking at Tony Stark, he didn't answer the questions of those crazy reporters but left. Su Ching glanced at Nick Fury. If you have something, then come to the lounge with me. If it's okay, then please come back. I think the Hydra in your shield will be enough for your headache. After speaking, Su Qing turned around and walked towards the restroom behind. Looking at Su Qing, who was a little cold and even defensive towards himself. Nick Fury didn't care either. In fact, if the identities of the two were swapped, then he would be prepared for Su Qing. Director S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be a big name, but in reality. Oh, S.H.I.E.L.D. might as well change its name to Snake Shield. Follow Su Qing towards the direction of the lounge. As soon as I came to the outside of the lounge, I heard angry roars in the lounge at this moment. Tony, you are not qualified to unilaterally announce the closure of Stark's Industrial Weapons Manufacturing Department, nor are you qualified to publish those photos. Even though Stark Industries is the property of your Stark family, don't forget that there are still shares of us in Stark Industries. We absolutely disagree with the decision you made. Now, you immediately tell the reporters and media that you were all joking just now. Otherwise. Looking at a crowd of angry old guys, listening to them get roaring. Tony Stark took out his ears indifferently, and said indifferently, otherwise, what else can you do? Deprive me of my seat as an executive director of Stark Industries. Or do you want to kick me out of the board? While talking, Tony Stark found a sofa and sat down unceremoniously. Telephones, don't forget that after Obediston is arrested, his shares will automatically belong to me. Therefore, the Stark Industrial shares that I hold now give me absolute control over it, so no matter what decision I make, it is my freedom. Don't think of using the board of directors to press me down. It doesn't work, because the total amount of shares in the hands of all board members is not as much as I am alone. While talking, Tony Stark looked at Su Qing and Nick Fury, who came in by pushing the door. I couldn't help but smiled and waved to Su Qing and said, "Come and sit down, I just wanted you to come here just now, but you have to hide behind to watch the excitement." After Su Qing walked over and sat on the sofa, Tony Stark raised his eyebrows and asked triumphantly, "How about Buddy? What I said at the press conference just now is not bad. It's okay, it's just a bit less infectious. I thought you would say something more touching." Looking at Tony Stark with a triumphant face, Su Qing replied with a smile. Looking at Tony Stark, who ignores himself and others at all. One of the members of the board of directors was already frustrated at this moment. Tony Stark, you are the biggest fool. Sooner or later the Stark industry will be ruined in your hands. I'm happy, are you in charge? Listening to the accusation from the other party, Tony Stark still had an indifferent expression. Stark Industry was left to me by my father, so I would destroy it if I want to destroy it. What does it have to do with you? If you don't want to accompany Stark Industries to destroy it, you can throw out the shares in your hands. How much do you throw? How much I will receive? Having said that, Tony Stark looked around the board members. Then he sneered, "Don't think I don't know. When Obediston sold those weapons through private channels, you were all insiders. I didn't care if you asked for a statement, it's already very good. Over the years, you have made money crazy, right now, you still want to care about my statement. Are you worthy?" You. Hearing Tony Stark's merciless ridicule, one of the board members just wanted to point to Tony Stark and say something angrily. But the next second, Tony Stark directly pressed a button. Soon, a recording spread throughout the lounge. Listening to the recording, these people are more or less colluding with Obediston. Although it is not substantive evidence, it still makes these people's faces very ugly. You want to make money, I don't care, but while you are making money from Stark Industries, you also want to swallow Stark Industries. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Now, I'm looking forward to it, watching your worth evaporating one by one, tisk tisk. Spreading his hands, Tony Stark looked at everyone happily. If you want to take Stark Industry from me, then everyone will destroy it together. Seeing Tony Stark with a crazy look in his eyes, the board members left the lounge with angrily shaking their hands. I don't know if I was taken away by anger, or if I was a bit guilty. Anyway, after these people left, Tony Stark said to Su Qing, "Well, I just went crazy for this performance, can I add more points?" Some are superficial. If they have received professional agent training, then they will definitely find out that you are in disguise. Su Qing hadn't waited for an answer, but Nick Fury on the side answered first. Asterisk. Well everyone, this is the surprise I want to give you. Inside the villa by the sea. Look at the gold red Mark series armor in the basement. Tony Stark said to the people in the live broadcast room of the answering chat room. I remember the clips that were played in our answering chat room, including a video of me wearing a nano armor. Unfortunately now, nanotechnology is not too mature to be applied to the armor, but it doesn't matter, my armor is very good, and it has been practiced in actual combat. While wearing the armor with the help of artificial machinery, Tony Stark asked Su Ching next to him, "Man, how does this armor look?" "Handsome." Listening, Tony Stark seemed to offer a treasure, with an expression asking for praise like a child. What else can Su Ching say? Can only praise a handsome. To know the past life, when I watched the movie, I really liked this classic Mark series battle armor. I also bought a helmet online. It's just this effect, far from the shock of watching the real battle armor live. Haha, the golden and red color scheme, but the most classic color scheme. Listening to Su Ching's praise, Tony Stark raised his eyebrows triumphantly after putting on his armor. "Let me fly for you." With that said, Tony Stark buttoned his upper armor, and then controlled the armor to take off, and then flew outside along the passage in the basement of the villa. He still likes to show off. It's like a child who never grows up. On the side, Nick Fury, who brought 2 glasses of red wine, handed one of them to Su Ching. While looking at the answering chat room, Tony Stark's third view battle armor flight, while speaking to Su Ching. Are you familiar with him? After receiving the wine glass handed over by Nick Fury, Su Ching asked softly. Definitely, after all, one of the 3 founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. is his father, Mr. Howard, so how can I not pay attention to him over the years? After taking a sip of wine, Nick Fury said to Su Ching. Answer the questions in the chat room. Looking at Tony Stark of flight from the third perspective, almost the members of the group praised him. It's just that these people are not praised by Tony Stark, but focused on discussing the color of the armor. Barton, I can win the battle. This armor is really good, it can be used in actual combat, and it can also be used for flight. But if the color is pure white and pure black, it will definitely be more beautiful. Close black lens bracket. Strange, I'm here to negotiate. I think it would be better if we could add some blue. Close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting. I jumped off the cliff. According to what you said, wouldn't it be more beautiful if you changed it to pink? Close black lens bracket. Wanda, I have the final say. If Shijiangjun is in chaos, I also think that pink is better. Close black lens bracket. Thor, the sad fat man who has lost the hammer. Dark blue lightning energy, giving people a feeling of full strength. If the armor is equipped with a lightning logo, it is simply handsome. Close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting. I jumped off the cliff. At Thor, Han, do you have any misunderstandings about the color of thunder and lightning? Close black lens bracket. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick. The armor is very handsome, it looks good now, anyway, as long as it is not green. I don't like green, because it reminds me of Hulk. Close black lens bracket. Pietro, keep the bullet away from me. At Wanda, sister, don't look, you come to me, I have a question, I can't. Close black lens bracket. Wanda, I have the final say. If Shijiangjun is in chaos. At Pai Te Luo, okay, here it is. Close black lens bracket. Strange, I'm here to negotiate. At Wanda, at Pai Te Luo, study hard, if you have any questions, just ask me. Close black lens bracket. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick. At Wanda, at Pai Te Luo, and me, I can also help you guys. Close black lens bracket. For the twins Wanda and Pietro in the answering chat room group, all group members like it very much. The 2 little guys usually have very sweet mouths, plus the pitiful life experience of these 2 little guys. Everyone loves them very much. Tony Stark was originally enthusiastic, as if a child got a good thing and couldn't wait to share it with his parents. After seeing the chat in the group, I suddenly became speechless. Most of the excitement disappeared at once, and then he controlled the armor and flew back slowly. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. You guys, you really have no eyes. It seems that it is Dr. Banner, Sue and me. The eyes of the 3 of us are the same. Close black lens bracket. Seeing Tony's lack of interest, he looked helpless. The members in the answering chat room burst out laughing. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting. I jumped off the cliff. Haha. I just said, he will definitely have this expression. Give money to money, 200 yuan. Thanks a lot. Close black lens bracket. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, alas, at Tony Stark. Tony, can't you fight for reasons and then get out the weapon system and blind everyone with deeds and actions? Close black lens bracket. Reminder, member, Strange, sends 200 yuan in cash to members, Natasha Romanoff, Barton, and Bruce Banner, each. Quote. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, at Thor, after you come to Earth, I am giving you 200 yuan. Close black lens bracket. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. When did you start betting with my performance? I do not know how. Close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, at Tony Stark, just when you held a press conference, we guessed at that time, the surprise you said was war armor, in addition, at Site Lan Chi, thank you doctor. Close black lens bracket. Barton, I can win the battle if I have one, at Site Lan Chi, for my daughter's new backpack, thank you. Close black lens bracket. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, at Site Lan Chi, thanks. Close black lens bracket. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. You guys are so boring. Close black lens bracket. That's what I said, but after controlling the armor to fly back, Tony Stark asked Su Ching for the first time, Su, you also bet with this thing. If I participate, then I can collect money instead of standing here and chatting with Nick Fury. Seeing Tony Stark pouting his mouth, Su Ching spread his hands. Cut, a good answer to the chat room, let them change the way to play. Hearing Su Ching say this, Tony Stark said silently. Obviously, what Tony is not satisfied with is not these people betting with themselves. But, such an interesting thing, I didn't even let myself participate. He forgot subconsciously, if he participated, then this bet would not be established. Asterisk. The coffee you want. Inside the living room. Walking over with 3 cups of coffee, Peebo first smiled politely at Su Ching and Nick Fury. Then he glanced at Tony Stark helplessly. Peebo looked at him with helpless eyes. Tony Stark already pretended to have an expression that I don't know anything. Hey, want to live at home. No doors. Just live in my villa honestly, saying that 2 people can have feelings after being together for a long time. Oh, even if this is a dumb way, but it can't let my future daughter's mother run away, right? After Peebo left, Su Ching smiled and said, you can't do this, Tony, it's easy to backfire. If you want to confess, you should confess. If she is willing to accept you, then. No, not yet time. Before Su Ching could finish, Tony Stark immediately shook his head. Now I am in her heart, still in the image of the playboy before. So she confessed at this time, she would never promise me. Wait a minute, I have been using practical actions to prove to her during this period of time that I am serious, and I don't even look at other women. When she really thinks that I have changed, I'm confessing, otherwise I'm afraid I won't even have the last bit of room. This kind of thing must be done safely. Tony Stark looked at Su Ching, and said with a swearing expression. If you don't confess, how do you know that people won't accept it? Nick Fury on the side took a sip of the coffee, and then said seriously, through the micro-expression analysis just now, Ms. Peebo actually has such a touch of affection for you, maybe. Okay, let's not talk about this. Seeing that he mentioned this question, Tony Stark stared at himself with bright eyes, an expression that you continue to analyze, hurry up and analyze. Nick Fury stopped this topic directly. Cut, I thought you could analyze something. Seeing Nick Fury stop talking, Tony Stark was a little speechless. This time I come here, I mainly want to talk to you two about my idea of forming Avengers. Looking at Su Ching and Tony Stark in front of him, Nick Fury said directly, I actually had this idea a long time ago, but I have never had a chance to realize it. Until the emergence of the answering chat room, I did not know that I could recruit so many people. Even though, many people in the answering chat room are not superhero for the time being. But those who can be selected, I think they must have good abilities in the future. So. It has nothing to do with me. Seeing Nick Fury turning his gaze to himself, Su Ching directly said, perhaps you have a good idea, a superhero team that protects the world. But, I never thought about becoming a superhero. And I don't know if I'm suitable for synthesis as a superhero. So for the time being, I don't have this idea, don't count me. You are too modest man, we have all seen the fragments of your future fight against the death of that god. Hearing Su Qing's words, Tony Stark said directly, everyone in the answering chat room knows that if it weren't for you, then maybe the Earth would have been destroyed long ago. Yes, Tony is right. Nick Fury on the side also nodded. A person who knows that the other person is a real god, but is willing to stand up and stand in front of the Earth and everyone. If such a person is not a superhero, then who else is worthy of calling it a superhero? What's more, although I don't know what your current strength is, Sue, according to future clips, your strength should be the strongest among all superhero. So Avengers needs you, and the Earth also needs you. Looking at Nick Fury with a serious face, Su Qing raised his eyebrows, turned his head to look at Tony Stark and said, have you already chosen to join? Do I have another choice? Hearing Su Qing's question, Tony Stark spread his hands and smiled. The future segment has been played very clearly, isn't it? Since I have to join sooner or later, why not? I believe that most people in the group have the same choices as mine, even if they still exist as soul bodies and haven't found Captain Steve with a frozen body, it's the same. Don't hesitation man, you don't want to see us friends, let's fight separately. Looking at Su Qing, Tony Stark said seriously. Looked at Nick Fury, then looked at Tony Stark. Okay. Su Qing just realized that this time Nick Fury didn't seem to take the initiative to talk to Tony Stark. Instead, I made an appointment with Tony to persuade myself. That's right, who made himself say that he didn't want to be a superhero or something like that. Thinking of this, Su Qing smiled helplessly. Just about to say something, the voice of the system suddenly came from the answering chat room. Attention members, a new round of answering questions begins. Please watch the next clips carefully, and then answer accordingly. Listen to the rich mechanical sound of the answering system. At this moment, no matter what the answering chat room members are doing, they stopped what they were doing and prepared to watch the clips from the future. After the rich mechanical sound of the system was finished, the answering chat room began to mute, and then a picture was played. In the picture, it is on a dark planet with snowflakes and a background similar to dusk. On the top of a high mountain, a very wide platform was erected there. A red skull in a shabby dress was standing there, looking at the two people on the opposite side. At the moment, the widow sister was sitting on a rock, her eyes clearly thinking about something. And beside her, Barton, who was standing there with a bow and arrow on his back, was pacing back and forth impatiently. Because when the answer chat room plays the answer fragments, it is all muted. So Barton took out his mobile phone and sent a message to the widow sister. It seems that this time it is about the two of us. Yeah, looking at that cliff reminds me of the suffix of my name, maybe this is my future. Take a closer look. In the answering chat room, the clip continues to play. God, it might be all his nonsense. While walking back and forth, Barton said, how could this be possible? Do not. The widow's sister sitting on the rock had a thoughtful expression at the moment. After hearing Barton's words, she shook her head gently. I don't think so. Why? Just because he knows your father's name. Turning his head to look at Natasha Romanoff, Barton asked. I don't even know it myself. Frowning, 450, brows, Natasha Romanoff's voice was heavy. Thanos took what he wanted from here, but didn't take his daughter. This is no coincidence. Listening to Natasha Romanoff, Barton just wanted to say something. But after hearing Natasha Romanoff sitting on the stone whispered, whatever it takes, she froze in place. Turn your head and look at the red skull on the edge of the cliff. In the gloomy sky, the red skull in the shabby robe always stood there. The cold wind blows the worn robe of Red Skull, like a sculpture. Watching this scene, Barton's voice paused for a moment, and finally nodded slowly, yes, at all costs. As if feeling Barton's determination, Natasha Romanoff stood up from the stone and walked slowly in front of Barton. If we don't get that, then hundreds of millions of people will not be able to survive. Originally, this sentence should be a rough stone, but it was silenced by the system. Listening to Natasha Romanoff's words, Barton nodded subconsciously, then turned his head to look at the cliff over there, and a trace of determination flashed in his eyes. I know. At all costs. And I think we all know who should jump down. Yes, we all know it. This time, Natasha Romanoff repeated Barton's words. Gently holding the hand of the widow's sister, Barton suddenly laughed. I think we may be different candidates, Natasha Romanoff. Hearing what Barton said, he wanted to jump off the cliff. Natasha Romanoff raised his head and looked directly into Barton's eyes gently. In the past 5 years, I have only one goal, and that is to come here. And all this is to bring everyone back. Never say these beautiful things to me, Natasha Romanoff. Barton shook his head. Do you think I want to do this? I'm saving your life, idiot. At this moment, the widow's sister's voice was mixed with a choke. Looking at Natasha Romanoff's reddish eyes, listening to her faintly choked voice. Barton held Natasha Romanoff's hand, his voice also choked, but his tone was still very firm. I won't let you do this, Natasha Romanoff, you know what I have done over the years, you know, what has become. I never measure a person by mistake. At this moment, the widow's sister's original resolute voice has become a touch of gentleness. Maybe you should do this. You can't do it yourself. Speaking to each other, gradually, a smile appeared on the faces of both of them. That is the smile of making up their minds to say goodbye to each other. I really can't help you. Taking a trembling breath, Barton looked at his partner, his closest friend, and his eyes were full of sadness. Gradually, the foreheads of the two people stuck together. After a while, Barton raised his head and looked at the widow's sister and said, well, you won. But as soon as the voice fell, the sadness on Barton's face disappeared, instead a smile appeared. Take advantage of the widow's sister not paying attention, put it down in an instant. Without letting him stand up, Barton pressed the widow's sister's shoulder and said, tell my family, I love them. Listening to Barton's words, the widow's sister turned Barton to the ground in a reverse fall. After standing up, the electric shock on her wrist directly attacked Barton's body. Watching the powerful electric current crackling on Barton, the widow's sister shook her head and said, you should tell them yourself. After speaking, he turned his head and looked at the cliff over there, after taking a deep breath. It seemed as if she was determined to give up everything, and the widow's sister ran towards the cliff without hesitation. Just halfway through the road, Barton pulled off the electric shock device behind him. Then stood up, picked up the bow and arrow, and sent it directly to the side of Natasha Romanoff who was running. Boom! A small explosion on the ground knocked the widow's sister to the ground. Throwing down the bow and arrow in his hand, Barton resolutely flew towards the cliff. While running, he smiled at the widow's sister, and then jumped off the cliff. Seeing this scene, Natasha Romanoff didn't care about being hit by the explosion in his aching abdomen. He quickly got up and fell down from the cliff, and the whole person fell on Barton's body, and at the same time hung the rope on the belt of Barton's waist. The grappling hook was sent out, and the grappling hook firmly climbed on the cliff, directly blocking the two people in the air. Barton, who reacted, grabbed the widow's sister's wrist in the air to prevent it from falling down. Pulling the rope and looking at the rope hanging on the belt, Barton cursed. While loosening the rope, it seems that I want to pull up Natasha Romanoff below. But the hand that was on his side and placed it on the top couldn't reach Natasha Romanoff at all. And many more. Looking at Natasha Romanoff who wanted to untie the belt on his wrist, Barton grabbed the widow's sister in one hand and tried to pull it up. But after taking a look at the bottom, the widow's sister raised her head with a gentle voice, as if she was persuading, let me go. No, please, no. Listening to the widow's sister's gentle farewell words, Barton's voice was extremely choked at the moment. Tears couldn't help but slip from the eyes. It's okay, it's okay. Finally, he smiled gently at Barton 5.0. Then in Barton's hoarse roar shout, Natasha Romanoff slammed her feet on the cliff wall. As soon as the whole person used force, he broke free of Barton's hand and fell from the cliff. Do not. Pulling the rope, Barton wanted to jump down and catch Natasha Romanoff at this moment, but the strong rope hung him firmly on the cliff. The heart-piercing voice seemed to gradually drift throughout the world. See this scene. In reality, Barton took a deep breath, raised a trembling hand, and rubbed his cheek vigorously. After that, it seemed as if he was complaining about being unsatisfied, and he slapped himself with a very loud slap in the face. But his eyes were fixed on the frozen picture. It seems that I am afraid that in the next second, all of this will happen truly. At the same time, inside Natasha Romanoff's apartment. Looking at the picture, one's own choice. The widow's sister gently raised her hand and wiped the tears on her face. Slightly relieved, I just wanted to send a message to Barton with my phone, telling him not to care about these images. But in the next second, the door of the room was opened. Turning his head, I found that Wanda's eyes were red and ran over, and then he fell into Natasha Romanoff's arms, and gradually made a crying sound. And Barton, who was standing on the side, was also a little red with eyes, and forcibly resisted not letting his tears flow out. After more than half a month of getting along, whether it is Wanda or Pietro, they have long been treated as sisters. Although they are young, they can still distinguish who is really kind to them and treats them like younger brothers and sisters. So when I saw Sister Natasha Romanoff jumping off the cliff, the two little guys all felt very sad. Okay, it's okay. These are just pictures of the future, it doesn't matter. Gently stroking Wanda's little head, Natasha Romanoff stretched out his hand and brought Pietro over again, who was holding back his grief. One hand gently patted the sad Wanda, and the other hand gently comforted Pietro. Although these two little guys didn't say anything, Natasha Romanoff could feel that these two little guys really regarded themselves as sisters. This feeling is pretty good. I am always alone. Although I am used to it, it would be better to have two more family members. Answer the questions in the chat room. After this clip was played, the rich mechanical sound of the system sounded again. Members, please pay attention, as shown in the above clip, what is the reason why the members, Natasha Romanoff, and Barton, jumped over the cliff? Option 1. In order to obtain a weapon against Thanos, in order to completely eradicate Thanos. Option 2. In order to obtain one of the 6 most precious infinite gems in the universe. Option 3. In order to obtain Soul Gem, one of the 6 most precious infinite gems in the universe. Members have 30 minutes to consider. If no one answers within 30 minutes, the system will immediately designate one person to answer. Those who make a wrong question will be deducted, including but not limited to life, wealth, ability, lifespan, etc. Quote. As the system's voice disappeared, the answering chat room was lifted from the mute state. I just don't know why, as the ban was lifted, there was no speech in the answering chat room. Very rare, it became silent. After a while, after seeing no one talking, Su Qing broke the silence. Su Qing, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Natasha Romanoff, at Barton, although I and Barton have not met yet, and I have only met Natasha Romanoff once, but I saw this clip, seriously, somewhat unacceptable. But no matter what, I would like to pay tribute to both of you. Yes, in my previous life, when I was watching Avengers Alliance IV, when I saw this clip for the first time, I burst into tears. Not only is he like this, even a muscular man who is nearly 1.9 meters away is also crying. Although I can understand the setting of swapping souls for souls, the screenwriters are still being scolded. After all, he wrote to death my eldest sister. Then, after Iron Man snapped his fingers, this time, he didn't even have the thought of cursing. At the end of the credits, the sound of iron strikes resounded, as if it implied that everything started from that cave, the sound of iron strikes. It is also the same as everything ended with the sound of iron strikes. After Su Qing began to speak, Natasha Romanoff also began to speak in the answering chat room. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, I finally know the reason for the suffix of my name, but it doesn't matter, although I don't know the specific reason, but I think, since I made this choice, so too naturally will not regret it. What's the matter at Zhang Ren? Don't be silent, this is not a clip of the future, I am still alive now. Barton, I can win the battle, doesn't my suffix say that I can win the battle? Liar, even if I win, the price is actually, asshole. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, at Barton, it's okay, this is my choice, don't be sad, none of this has happened yet. Besides, people will always die. Look away. Need my, dead man, to comfort you. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, at Natasha Romanoff, at Barton, really, this clip shocked me, too, although we have not met, but I am willing to send you with the most sincere tribute. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, inexplicably. I feel a little panicked, maybe my heart is too soft and I can't see this anymore. No matter what, at Zhang Ren, after the answer is over, maybe we should meet offline, I invite you to drink. It just so happens that Sue and Nick Fury are with me today. At Natasha Romanoff, at Barton, in addition, I am also willing to pay tribute to you like Sue and Steve. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for a holiday. I never thought that my two most trusted and best subordinates would actually make such a distressing choice. For a moment, I almost wish I stood there. Strange, I'm here to negotiate. At Natasha Romanoff, at Barton, I'm in the hospital, salute you. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, I am counted as one, although I don't know what will happen in the future, but watching this clip, I feel a little uncomfortable in my heart. Looking at the group, everyone was a little sad when they spoke. Su Qing seemed to have thought of something, and then continued to speak in the answer chat room. Su Qing, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Zhang Ren, it seems that we have forgotten one thing, Natasha Romanoff may not die. Don't forget, Natasha Romanoff once got a skill called death replacement after answering a question correctly. Maybe with this skill, then Natasha Romanoff can't die. Natasha Romanoff, don't fight. I jump off the cliff, because this skill is not available, so I subconsciously forget this passive skill. Yes, with this skill, even if I jump off the cliff, can't die. At Barton, okay, Eagle Boy, don't be sad. Sue is right, you see, can't I die? In reality. Gently patted the two little guys Wanda and Pietro, Natasha Romanoff with a gentle smile. Don't worry, sister, I have one more life. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, yeah. Guys, we all forgot about this, Natasha Romanoff won't die, after all, she has the ability to die. Barton, I can win the battle, roar. It is a sigh of relief, thanks to the answering system, thank you very much. In addition, at Natasha Romanoff, nah, this time you can't grab me, you have to die, don't forget, I also teleport. This time, I will never let you jump off that cliff. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon on vacation, it's fine if you can't die, you can't die. As long as the person is still alive, then everything is easy to say. Dr. Banner, Hulk is not sick, I also remembered that through Sue said that, do you still remember the clip about Sus future? In that clip, although there are many people we don't know, fight against death with us. But do not forget, the people inside the group may have in it. So it also proves that we are not going to die. Thor lost sad fat hammer, although I agree with it Bruce Banner, double your point of view, but this is the next segment, we are not forgetting one thing, that is, in the end as the first death comes, or fragments of them, Natasha Romanoff mentioned Thanos' first coming. Su Qing, goddess of death do not deserve a man, at Thor, Han Han said yes, we are not able to determine the timeline, but you can follow some of the details to judge. Saying, Su Qing answer in a chat room inside, the release of the comparison of the two pictures. Su Qing, goddess of death do not deserve a man, look, Tony is the first picture in Strange Against the Alien Magician, Ebony Maw, pictures, which Tony was wearing a nano armor. The second picture is me against the time of death, Avengers defeat the picture, in which Tony nano armor obviously improved after once again. We only need to figure out the timeline of the alien magician, we can know whether the timeline of the fight against death occurred before Thanos or after Thanos. Well, although the fight against death was created by himself, it is inexplicable, Su Qing always feels that this seems to happen in the future. Especially after getting undead magic. Supreme Magician Ancient One died because of special effects too expensive. The alien necromancer is called Ebony Maw, one of Thanos' 5 obsidian generals, so death is after Thanos. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, if these are the future before the emergence of the answering system, and the death is also a matter after Thanos, then isn't it involved in a time paradox? Think about it, if there is no answer system, then it is obvious that Natasha Romanoff has not died to replace this skill. Without this skill, then she has jumped to death. Since she has jumped to death, how can she appear in the fight against death? In the picture. This is an obvious time paradox. After hearing Tony Stark's words, everyone noticed this problem. Just like Tony said, if death came to the Earth after Thanos, then Natasha Romanoff was already dead at that time, how could he fight alongside them and fight death together? Unless, the footage of their fight against death played by the answering system is after the existence of the answering chat room. Only with this explanation can we explain clearly how the dead widow's sister can fight side by side with them and fight death. Hearing Tony Stark's words, Su Ching in reality showed a smile unconsciously. Finally, someone discovered this problem. Yes, this is a trap deliberately set by Su Ching. He deliberately let Natasha Romanoff at that time appear in the scene against death. The purpose is to use the Supreme Magician Ancient One mouth to let everyone know the ability of their undead magic. After all, this reward is clearly stated by the system before answering the question. And what I got was the perfect version of undead magic ability. And the videos against death are all made by myself and the system. So, what could be more credible than Asgardian, the leader of the only magician group on the earth, to prove that his undead magic is not evil magic? Su Ching knows that in the eyes of many people, undead magic is a kind of black magic, and it is a kind of evil magic that blasphemes the undead. Therefore, Supreme Magician came to clarify for himself, which is more convincing than clarifying himself. Who made it? She is the Supreme Magician of the earth. What's more, the Supreme Magician has seen his own future coming a long time ago, and has also seen the future that has been drastically changed by everyone. Even if this future is fake, but what the Supreme Magician Ancient One sees through Time Gem and then thinks it is true, that is enough. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Zhang Ren, maybe I know what happened, and I also know that if Natasha Romanoff is really dead, then who can bring it back to life? Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Su Ching. Su, you mean, in the original video, Captain Steve Rogers, resurrected Natasha Romanoff. Su Ching, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get, I don't know how to say it. After all, this matter sounds a little strange to you, and you might even think it is a kind of evil black magic. This is your consciousness at work, so, at Jizun Magician Ancient One Magician, it's better for you to tell them. Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive, at Su Ching. Well, everyone, in fact, magic has always been divided into two categories, just like the opposition between good and evil. From the day that magician was born, black magic has always been regarded as an evil existence by the world. However, ability does not distinguish between evil and justice. It is regarded as righteous and evil. People who use this ability do good things. Then this energy is just, and vice versa. And between the two kinds of magic, there are many more special magics. Just like the magic ability possessed by Su. He possesses magic, which is a legendary undead magic, which is an extremely mysterious secret method. It is precisely because of the mystery of this ability that many people do not understand. Think it's evil. Having said that, the Supreme Magician Ancient One specially touched Strange in the group. Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. If the future I saw with the time gem some time ago is correct, then Natasha Romanoff has not yet died to replace this skill. After jumping off the cliff, it should be Su used undead magic resurrected Natasha. As the next Supreme Magician and my future disciple, you have to remember that magic and energy do not distinguish between good and evil, only talents can distinguish this way, understand? Listening to the teachings of the Supreme Magician Ancient One, Strange nodded thoughtfully. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, at Jizun Magician Ancient One, teacher, that is to say, when I learn magic with you in the future, I will not only learn the magic you use but also some dark magic. Can study together, right? Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. It is absolutely possible. Sometimes, with the help of the power of the dark plane, we can enhance our own strength and increase our lifespan. More importantly, only understand the dark magic. Only then can we better deal with the enemies from the dark plane. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, I understand, although I really want to learn magic with you now, but you also said that before the time, then, before that, I can talk to Su learn about undead magic. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at you can learn if you want, but I can't teach it. Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. At what do you think? You should still be your doctor honestly now. Wait for me to think of a good way to hone your character. After that, you can learn some basic magic. Car accidents are no longer possible. After all, the situation now is different from before. But I will set some new tribulations for you. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. Magician Ancient One. So blatantly saying that we need to train him in some way, is that good? I always feel that this scene is like saying to Strange, hey, Strange, I am going to kill you. Supreme Magician Ancient One died because the special effects are too expensive. At Tony Stark, you can understand it this way. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, smiley face. Bruce, see Banner, Hulk is not sick, I just want to know. At Su Ching, Sue, do you have a way to bring Deadman back to life? Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. At Su Ching, man, is this true? If it is true, then this is awesome. If we all die in the future, then it can also resurrect us. Then what else can we be afraid of? Barton, I can win the battle if I have it, so at all members, everyone, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and make a relationship with Sue. If you accidentally die in the future, Su Nang will bring us back to life. 4. The sad fat man who has lost the hammer. At Su Ching, Sue, when I finish my work, I will bring Loki over to find you. You guys will get acquainted first. Odin is on, I promise you will if you like him. If you don't like him, I will beat him. Until you are satisfied with the beating, thank goodness, you know that my heart is breaking when I watched Loki be chopped off by that guy. Open black lens bracket Wanda, I have the final say if the chaos in Zijing Town is not chaos. At Su Ching brother, thank you for saving Sister Natasha Romanoff. If I have a strong ability in the future, then you can let me do anything. Close black lens bracket. Pietro, let the bullet stay away from me. At Su Ching, same as Wanda said, me too. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff. Wow. So at Su Ching, man, thank you for resurrecting me in the future, but are you a group pet now? Yes, you can resurrect your teammates. God, it's incredible. But are there any requirements for resurrecting teammates? For example, the number of resurrects. Su Ching, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get. At Natasha Romanoff, there is no requirement, but my death magic, or undead magic is not enough at present, so there are not many people who can be resurrected temporarily. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her. I am envious of my real name. I finally got a skill, where I can only resurrect 4, and it must be someone related to me. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get. There are still 20 minutes. At all members, CDFA, everyone, let's solve this problem first and talk about other things. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. Yes, everyone, after the question is over, I will count who has the time, and then find an opportunity. I will invite you to drink, which is the first time for the members of the chat room to answer the question. Offline party. You know, for this, I am willing to take out the fine wine I have treasured for more than 20 years. I believe you will be satisfied. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff. I agree with Tony's statement that we people should also meet each other and understand each other, but just like Sue just said, let's return to the topic first. I am more curious. Yes, in the clip just now, I said 5 years, right? At Sue, can you give me a screenshot? Close black lens bracket. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get. Definitely no problem. Upon hearing Natasha Romanoff's request, Su Ching sent the pictures taken as an administrator to the answering chat room. The 5 years that Natasha Romanoff focused on was a line she said when she and Barton wanted to jump off the cliff. In the past 5 years, I have only one goal, and that is to come here, and all of this is to bring everyone back. Very intimate. There are subtitles for the lines on the picture. Looking at this picture, Natasha Romanoff directly analyzed all the members in the answering chat room. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff. First of all, the topic is what Barton and I want to jump off the cliff to get. Looking at the picture, the first thing is that if we don't get anything, then we can't get 100 million. Thousands of people are resurrected. In the latter sentence, there is only one goal in the past 5 years, and that is to come to this strange cliff. So can it be explained that we lost the battle with Thanos, and we lost very thoroughly, killing hundreds of millions of people all at once? So what kind of battle can kill hundreds of millions of people? Listening to Natasha Romanoff's analysis, others began to analyze it gradually. First of all, as Su Qing who knows everything, he told them something they had overlooked. Su Qing, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get. Everyone, pay attention to what Natasha Romanoff said. She is talking about hundreds of millions of lives, not hundreds of millions, or billions, etc. Obviously, after losing that battle, it was not only the creatures of the earth who were wiped out. Otherwise, Natasha Romanoff's words would not be hundreds of millions, but hundreds of millions. 4. The sad fat man who lost the hammer. My God, is it possible that the future battle will not only affect the earth, or the 9 realms, but the entire universe? The creatures have been affected. Can wipe out hundreds of millions of lives at once. Odin is here, how did he do it? Barton, I can win the battle. God, in a battle, the lives of hundreds of millions of creatures in the universe have been wiped out. What an epic battle should be. At Thor, Han, you are in Asgard, have you ever heard of a weapon that can wipe out hundreds of millions of creatures in the universe at once? Thor, the sad fat man who lost the hammer. Impossible, there is no such weapon, and no such weapon, at least I have never heard of it in the 9 realms. Not to mention the entire universe, even if it is a single 9 realm, it is impossible to wipe out all creatures at once. Unless that Thanos takes his subordinates, one planet by planet, the slaughter. But even so, given him 1,000 years, it is impossible for him to wipe out all the life on all planets in the entire universe. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for vacation. Han is right. Since we can rule out the idea of this weapon, then we can also rule out the method of Thanos one planet by planet. What method will he use to destroy the billions of creatures in the universe? Since there is no clue right now, will our question be in the subject? Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick. Nick is right, although we don't know what Natasha Romanoff and Barton are jumping off the cliff to get, but according to Sus screenshot, since we want to get that thing can bring back hundreds of millions of creatures, so on the contrary, can it also be eliminated? This is justified in physics. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. Dr. Banner is right. Like a weapon, it can destroy enemies and protect civilians at the same time. But according to the 3 options on the topic, the first thing that can be excluded is the first one. According to the first option, Natasha Romanoff and Barton jumped off the cliff in order to obtain weapons against Thanos. But according to our analysis just now, it has been 5 years since the Battle of Thanos. Although weapons can protect the creatures of the universe, they cannot resurrect the dead ones. Well, I suddenly thought that Sue is okay. It's a pity that there is no option for Sue in the answer, otherwise I must choose the one related to Sue. Su Qing, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get. At Tony Stark, don't make trouble, man, look at the suffix of my name, we can't die even if we want to die. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. Let's enliven the atmosphere, but since the first option can be ruled out, then the second and third options are left. One is one of the 6 infinite gems, one of the power gems is soul gem. At all members, who knows what infinite gems is? Open black lens bracket Su Qing, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get. I once knew something about the 6 infinite gems when I obtained the magic of death, that is, the magic of the undead. When the universe was just born, it was nothing but nothingness, and then there was a Big Bang. This Big Bang brought 6 elements of infinite gems. The 6 infinite gems correspond to time and space respectively. Power, soul, reality, and soul gem. It is said that although each infinite gems has a different effect, the energy contained in it is enough to easily destroy a planet. And if once someone gathers 6 gems, they only need to snap their fingers to wipe out all the life in the universe. Hearing Su Qing's introduction to the role of wireless gems, the answer chat room suddenly burst. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. Really? What is that infinite gems really have such a powerful ability? God, is that Thanos just collected 6 infinite gems? That's why hundreds of millions of lives in the universe have been wiped out. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick. Maybe it's really possible, since Sue knows the 6 infinite gems and what will happen to the infinite gems, then it doesn't make sense that alien guy, oh, Thanos, it makes no sense. Thanos doesn't know. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff. My God, if this is really the case, then all this is simply terrifying. That is to say, I jumped off the cliff to get the power gem or one of the soul gems. Strange, I'm here to negotiate well. Thanos has come to Earth, that is to say, we also have infinite gems on Earth. If this is the case, then if we destroy the infinite in advance, then all this in the future wouldn't it happen? Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. If it is really like what Strange said, then I agree with Strange's point of view and directly find and destroy infinite gems. Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. The Time Gem, one of the 6 infinite gems, has been guarded by our Supreme Magician, placed in the Eye of Agamotto. Ranchi, you will be the next Supreme Magician in the future, and Eye of Agamotto will be inherited by you. Are you sure you want to destroy Time Gem? Strange, I'm here to negotiate. What, teacher, when I didn't say the above sentence, since it is guarded by our Supreme Magician, then I believe that Thanos will not succeed. Close black lens bracket. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times. You didn't say that just now. Barton, I can win the battle. Magician Ancient One Magician, do you think that with your strength, if Thanos comes to Earth at this moment, can you snatch the Time Gem from you? Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. Thanos, as long as I am still alive, then he will not dare to come to Earth. And there is not only 1 infinite gems on Earth, but 3, at Nick Fury, the Tesseract you are studying is actually the space gem. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for vacation. Tesseract is one of the space gems of infinite gems. Then Ancient One Magician, should we stop our research on Tesseract? Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. Don't worry, you continue to study yours, otherwise the newly generated timeline will change the future to a large extent. Barton, I can win the battle. Oh, there are actually 3 infinite gems on the Earth. No wonder, judging from various clips, the Earth is always in trouble and it is always facing various enemies. Spray, 3 infinite gems, I am afraid that any ambitious person in the universe will not let the Earth go. I suddenly became a little pessimistic about the future. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, at Barton. Because of this, we have to work harder to protect the Earth, right? In any case, we must not let infinite gems fall into the universe. In the hand. Su Ching, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get. Steve is right. No matter how many infinite gems are, whether it is on our planet or not, when the guy Thanos wants to snatch infinite gems and wipe out hundreds of millions of people. We should all directly fight back against Thanos, but this is all for the future. Our main thing now is to answer this question. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff. Sue is right. Now that the first weapon option can be eliminated, then the second and third are left. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for vacation. Power gems and soul gem. Magician Ancient One, I know you can't involve spoilers, so except for Shield's Tesseract, which is the space gem. And besides the time gem you control, what is another infinite gems? I think we can use the elimination method. 453, Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive. Another infinite gems on the Earth is Reality Gem, which exists in the form of type particles at this moment. Strange, I'm here to negotiate. Well, it's obviously indistinguishable from the Power Gem and Soul Gem in the title. That also means that the place where Natasha Romanoff jumped off the cliff is not on the Earth. Since it is an alien planet, then at Thor, Han, you should know more about alien planets. Do you know where Natasha Romanoff jumped off the cliff? Is it there? Is it for power and soul? Thor, the sad fat man who lost the hammer, I don't know infinite gems too much. Asgard has never studied in the previous learning class. Wait for me, I will ask Loki if he knows it. After all, he is smarter than me. Asgard. After saying this in the answering chat room, Thor took the hammer directly and flew towards Loki's place. Loki. Bringing outside of the palace where Loki was staying, Thor yelled loudly as he walked in. Ah! Loki, who was talking about the Asgard strange flowers being put into various vases one by one, was startled by Thor's sudden loud voice. Seeing that the strange flower in his hand had been pinched off by himself, Loki couldn't help but sighed helplessly. As soon as I turned around, I saw Thor walking in with a hammer. Is there anything so anxious? Is it because the father asked us to lead the Asgard warriors to the planet of the 9 realms to calm the chaos? You still can't find an opponent in the martial arts field, so you want to take me to fight with you. Say it first. If it's the latter, then I don't have time to fight with you, a reckless guy. Listening to Loki, after he came in, he quickly finished speaking. Thor suddenly grinned and smiled triumphantly. I knew you were afraid of me, right? Haha, that's right, your little Kongs. Looking at Loki's original smiling face, it gradually disappeared, and then he narrowed his eyes. A familiar feeling of about to be teased hit, Thor subconsciously shivered. What? I didn't ask you this question, I wanted to ask, you know infinite gems. Definitely know that Asgard has taken courses before, have you forgotten? Listening to Thor's question, Loki nodded slightly. Haha, who remembers things so long ago? When I heard Loki said that I had learned it, I thought that I had just been in the answering chat room and said that Asgard had no introduction to infinite gems in previous courses. Thor couldn't help but scratched his head and laughed. By the way, since we have studied infinite gems, do you know where the power gems and soul gem are? Do not know. Looking at Thor with a look of hope, Loki shook his head. No one knows where infinite gems is. At least I don't know. After all, I don't have any ideas about infinite gems. So definitely won't look for it, and for so many years, who knows that every infinite gems was taken there by those people. By the way, what are you asking for? Fine. Hearing Loki's curiosity, Thor immediately shook his head and said, I just asked, and suddenly I remembered something, I'm leaving now. As he said, Thor turned and left with a black smile, for fear that Loki would say something to slap himself. During this time, Thor is a bit weird, mysterious. Seeing Thor turn and leave with a grin, Loki can't help but frown. But after thinking about it, I just left this thing behind. This guy with all muscles in his head is normal for some strange behaviors. Just about to turn around and continue to play with some strange flowers in my room, I heard some movement behind me. Turning his head, he found that Thor was scratching the door of his room like a second haw, and he stretched his head to look at him. Is there anything else? Looking at Thor's appearance, Loki seemed to have been used to asking in general. By the way, do some preparations, after a while, I will take you to the Earth. Thor looked at Loki and said seriously. Go to Earth. What are you going to do in Midgard? Take you to meet some people, the most important thing is to take you to meet a young man named Sue. Looking at Loki, Thor blinked. Trust me, Loki, it's only good for you to know him. Say clearly. Hearing what Thor said was unclear, Loki couldn't help frowning. If you don't say it clearly, I don't think that a person in the Midgard world will do me any good. If you want to take this opportunity to play with me, Thor, your strategy is too simple. I am not the god of joking and trickery, I don't have as many tricks as you. When he walked to Loki, Thor stretched out his hand and walked Loki upstairs. Your brother, have I lied to you all these years? Cheated. Looking into Thor's eyes, Loki nodded. Anyway, you can go to Jow Earth with me at that time. Thor's words stagnated, and then he became a little embarrassed and angered. I can't tell you exactly because of what, but you have to believe that this matter is only good for you without harm. That's it, let's go. After hammering Loki's punch, Thor happily walked out with the hammer. It seems that Thor's happiness is very simple. As long as he can hammer his brother Loki with a punch, he can be happy for a long time. Rubbing his shoulders, Loki looked at Thor who was walking out, and a flash of helplessness flashed in his eyes. This reckless and arrogant fellow turned around and wanted to continue playing with his strange flowers, but it seemed that he was afraid that Thor would return again. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the magical energy directly closed the door, and blocked the door with a chair. After finishing this, Loki is a little relieved. As long as that guy comes back again, his good mentality will definitely make him lose it. Barton, I can win the battle, at hand, doesn't Loki also know? Thor, the sad fat man who lost the hammer, yes, Loki doesn't know, I just said, Asgard's previous courses, it has nothing to do with Infinite Gems narration. After sending this sentence, Thor subconsciously touched the nose and looked around secretly, looking like a guilty conscience. But soon Thor felt that he was thinking too much. They are not from Asgard, how could they know what Asgard taught? Well, I just haven't learned it, instead of forgetting it myself, let's drop it. I have been called Han, so I am not allowed to forget something. Humph. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff no matter what. There are only two options left now, one is the power gem and the other is the soul gem. Since in the answering chat room, except for the Supreme Magician, no one knows specifically that the cliff jump is for the infinite gems, so they can only guess. 23 Actually, I prefer soul gem. After all, the power gem sounds like it is used in battle. Can bring unlimited power to users. Correspondingly, if you want to bring back the billions of lives in the universe, it feels like soul gem is more reliable. Su Qing, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get. So, is this the sixth sense of a woman? It seems to make some sense. Well, I still don't answer this question by myself. Strange, I'm here to negotiate, soul gem. It sounds like there is such a sense. Although there is a sense, it is Natasha Romanoff that you answered based on your own feelings. At Magician Ancient One, teacher, you like to give some hints. If you find it convenient, then blink your eyes. No, you blink, we can't see it. If it's a power gem, just post a paragraph. If soul gem, you just say a string of numbers. System prompt. Member, Strange, was banned for 30 minutes for inducing member, Supreme Magician Ancient One. Seeing the system's sudden silence prompt, everyone was shocked. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, and it seems that I want to take a shortcut and let the Supreme Magician Ancient One who can see the future through time gem reveal some news. This thing does not work. Barton, I can win the battle, so, we have to answer by ourselves. Perhaps for the answering system, we can see the Supreme Magician in the future, which is a bit too bug. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, I don't understand this. Since the Supreme Magician is not allowed to reveal some details, and I know that the Supreme Magician can see the future through time gem, then why did the answering system be so bring in Ancient One Magician too? Isn't this a contradiction? Su Qing, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, I don't know, but there may be a reason, maybe because the Ancient One Magician has been silently guarding the earth. It is a lonely superhero, or maybe it's because of something in the future, who knows? Thor, the sad fat man who lost the hammer, there are still 15 minutes to answer the question. If there is really no choice, then let me answer it, to me, it's nothing. In addition, at Buddy, after a while, I will come to Earth and take my brother Loki, who was chopped off his neck. You can get acquainted with him, believe me, you will really like him. Su Qing, the man that the goddess of death is destined to not get, at Thor, Han, this is no problem, if you want to bring him to Earth, then bring him. But silly, even if you live a long life, but the wrong answer is not only deducted from the lifespan. So if you choose to answer the questions in order to ask for something and want me to resurrect him in the future, then there is no need. You don't have to choose to take a risk because of this. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, at Thor, yes, your business is your business, since you can fight with us in the future and become a superhero on Earth, what do you have? We will definitely help. But if for this reason, you take the initiative to please us, or if you answer the question for us to eliminate the wrong answer, then you don't have to. This is not the way friends should get along. Definitely, although we have not seen each other, and there is no way to call each other friends for the time being, I believe it is only a matter of time, right? Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Thor, Sue and Natasha Romanoff are right, friends don't need to please each other, this is not what a real friend should do. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, at Thor, Han, I think they are right. Supreme Magician Ancient One died from special effects too expensive, although I don't know why the answering system will pull me in, maybe as Sue said, the answering system has its purpose. But looking at your speeches, I am very fortunate that there are a group of superheroes like you on the Earth. Even if I die early in the future, I can rest assured that I will hand the Earth to you. Asgard. Look at the speech of this group of people in the answering chat room. Inexplicably, Thor feels warm in his heart. It's as if I can't wait to take a good wine and have a good drink with them. In fact, Su Qing is right. He really wants to take the initiative to answer the questions because he wants to let Su Qing be able to resurrect Loki in the future. After all, no one can understand how important Loki is to him. Those are my brothers fighting side by side, my partners who have played together, fought together, and grew up together for 1,500 years. You should know the picture of Loki being chopped off his neck while looking at the answering chat room, but he was helpless. Maybe God knows how desperate and heartbroken he is. But now, looking at the chat room, these words to persuade me. This is why Thor feels deeply moved by everyone other than Loki, Nozomi, and the three warriors of Asgard. You know, even if there is this answering chat room, they are still a group of strangers who have never met. However, it was these strangers that made Thor suddenly feel that the earth is also very cute. What's wrong? After fiddling with the strange flowers in his vase, he went out to see Thor sitting on the steps with a touched expression on his face. Loki couldn't help but raised his brows, sat next to him, and asked curiously. It's okay, nothing. Looking at Loki sitting next to him, Thor stretched out his hand and took Loki's shoulder, with a serious expression on his face, saying, now, I really start to like the earth. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, like I said, it is either a power gem or a soul gem. I prefer soul gems, so if no one has objections, then I will answer soul gem. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, I don't know how to say it, this is not the direction of my research, so I don't have any opinions. Barton, I can win the battle if I have it, I believe in you, Natasha Romanoff. Supreme Magician Ancient One, died from special effects too expensive, at Natasha Romanoff, yes, let me tell you one thing, in the next 2 or 3 years, I will give you an address, and then Wanda and Pete Luo, the twins came here. Their future has changed, so I will let them find their ability again. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, good Ancient One magician, but I need to ask Wanda and Pietro for their opinions on this matter. If they have no opinion after 3 years, then I will follow your requirements. Bring them to you, but if they don't want to have power beyond the ordinary, then I will not force them. Maybe we are enough to guard the world, maybe I am a little selfish, but I really treat them as my younger siblings. Therefore, I don't want them to participate in these things. After all, according to what we have seen, the future is too dangerous. Supreme Magician Ancient One, died because the special effects are too expensive, at Natasha Romanoff, you are a very good sister, I can understand. But I believe them. And, the future of Wanda is limitless. In the real world. So, Wanda and Pietro, the twins, will they be my younger brother and younger sister in the future? Sitting in the office of the hospital, looking at the speech in the answering chat room, Strange nodded thoughtfully. Then I want to ask the Supreme Magician Ancient One in the answering chat room. But I just wanted to ask, but looked at the system's big prompt, I was in the mute. Seeing this word, Strange patted his head immediately. Oh, who wants to be smart? Answer the chat room. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, the future is still talking about the future. Since everyone has no objections, then I will answer this question. System, I choose to answer the question, and I compete with Barton to jump off the cliff, the purpose is to get the soul gem. Members, Nada, Shaw, chose to answer, are you sure of your answer? Listening to the strong mechanical sound of the answering system, Natasha Romanoff felt a little tight. But immediately, I confirmed my answer. Congratulations to the member, Natasha Romanoff, who answered correctly and will get the skill, Leap. After the answering system announced that Natasha Romanoff answered correctly, the next moment, in the answering chat room, a segment was played again. Still on that cliff, Red Skull looked at Natasha Romanoff and Barton and said, among the 6 infinite gems, only Soul Gem is the most unique. It's right below, and it's what you fear most. But, you might call it a kind of wisdom. Listening to the words of the Red Skull, Natasha Romanoff gradually put down the gun in his hand, staring at the Red Skull and asked seriously, tell me, what price do we have to pay if we want to get this soul gem? Or that soul gem wants what? In order to ensure that anyone who owns it can understand its power, the gem needs a sacrifice. Looking at Natasha Romanoff and Barton, the Red Skull pointed to the direction of the cliff. If you want to get the soul gem, then you need to give your love and exchange your soul for your soul. Nonsense. Hearing what Red Skull said, Barton next to Natasha Romanoff frowned and retorted, I have never heard of such nonsense. You can choose not to believe it, but that's the truth. Listening to Barton's angry tone, the Red Skull's voice still said unhurriedly. On the side, Natasha Romanoff, who had been silent, listened to Barton's angry voice and the calm voice of Red Skull, and then slowly found a stone and sat down. Maybe what he said is true. With his hands on his mouth, Natasha Romanoff's eyes flashed with thoughts. Don't forget, Thanos took Gamora here to find Soul Gem, but in the end, only Thanos came back. This is not a coincidence. As Natasha Romanoff's voice fell, the first segment ended. As the picture turned, Natasha Romanoff was lying at the bottom of the valley under the cliff, and blood gradually began to spread around it. On the cliff, Barton was crying hoarse, but soon, Barton seemed to be in another space at this moment. Barton knelt on the water, looked at the soul gem in his hand, and couldn't help crying. At the end of the screen, the answering chat room has resumed the state of speaking again. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, it's really a bit of abusive heart, but at Natasha Romanoff, at Barton, it turns out that you are the true love between each other. If this is the case, then why don't you two choosing to be together? Seeing Tony Stark's jokes, everyone else became curious. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, at Tony Stark, don't talk nonsense, Barton and I are friends, partners, and close friends. I can join SHIELD, or Barton pulled me in. Secondly, for a long time, I have no family, relatives or friends, so I have lived and died with Barton for so long. I have long regarded him as my family, and I think Barton is the same. So if it is true love, then it must be true love between family members, not Tony, the kind of love you understand. Ching. Barton, I can win the battle, Natasha Romanoff is right. If at first, I only regarded her as a partner, then before I knew it, Natasha Romanoff was already one of my indispensable family members. Very early on, I felt sad for Natasha Romanoff. Although there are many things I can't tell, it is related to Natasha Romanoff's secret, but I can only say that she is my family. In addition, I have a wife and children, and my wife and children also regard Natasha Romanoff as a member of our family. I want to say that, you should understand. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, so, is the friendship gradually sublimated to the family. I think I can understand it, but I really envy your friendship like this, and treat each other as family members. Perhaps only in this way can it be shown that you treat each other with the love of your family, and you can obtain the harsh conditions of Soul Gem. I used to have it, just let me cut it off by myself. Su Ching, the man that the goddess of death is destined to not get, at Blue Sea-Banner, there is the next player, Dr. Banner, please tell your story. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Blus Banner, please tell this contestant your story, close black lens bracket. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jumped off the cliff, I still know a little bit about Dr. Banner, especially after he was subjected to gamma rays, he transformed into a Hulk. SHIELD has also paid attention to this. But cut off a relationship with your own hands. Please tell your story. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, scratching his head, it's nothing, but I was not very stable at the beginning, and after some stimulation, it was easy to transform into Hulk, and I couldn't get involved to Betty, and her father was Rose General. General Rose always wanted to arrest me and conduct research, so I was really afraid of getting her involved. Later, when I heard that she had a new boyfriend, I was a little relieved. Although it was a little uncomfortable, even if I couldn't be with Betty, at least, she could live a happy life for ordinary people. NS. For me, this is enough. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for vacation, at Blue Sea-Banner, don't worry, Betty is doing well now and is engaged to her boyfriend. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Nick Fury, are you serious? Su Ching, the man that the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Nick Fury, man, are you sure you want to tell Dr. Banner this matter? Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, at Su Ching, at Tony Stark, it's okay, really, thank you, but since she is living happily now, everything is okay. Although I was a little worried, but I really wanted to bless her. What's more, even if she is with me, she will not be happy. She has always liked children, but I can't give her a child. Who knows if my future child will be like me, as soon as I get angry. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Bu Si Banner, Dr. Banner, I would like to call you Roar, a man with an open mind. Since you can't be destined to be together, then I wish my most beloved woman a good life happiness. Enough, man. I can't do it. After all, whoever dares to steal my future girlfriend, I will let him survive and die. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Su Ching, Su, although I also respect CDFA, pay Dr. Banner, but maybe I have the same character as you, who dares to grab Peebo with me and grab my daughter's future, mother, I killed him. In addition, at Bulu C. Banner, I would like to pay tribute to you. Bruce Banner, Hulk is not sick, scratching his head, it's okay, after all, what happened to me is different from what happened to you. So. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, alas, I think of Peggy. I owe her a dance and missed a 70-year date. Nick Fury, I really want to go to the moon for vacation, at Steve Rogers, Captain Rogers, don't feel sorry, tell you a good news, the hill I sent out, they have found your plane that sunk in the glacier. Maybe soon, you will recover again. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, really? Great. The last time I was in the sun, it was 70 years ago. Just. Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, congratulations, at Steve Rogers. Just what? Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, at Steve Rogers, they are almost recovering from the ice, what are you worried about? Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, if I really resurrected, then how should I face Peggy? Face this girl I love so deeply. Listening to Steve Rogers' words, the answer chat room suddenly became silent for a while. This is something that no one thought of. Everyone heard Nick Fury say that after finding Steve Rogers' frozen body, they were all happy for him. However, he subconsciously forgot, he has been asleep in the freezing for 70 years. Yes, once he recovers, how will he face this new world? Even in the answering chat room, I read a lot of what happened in the past 70 years that Nick Fury sent him. Even from books, I know a lot of world changes that are rapidly evolving. But is he really able to adapt to the new world? All my former friends are dead, and the only girl I love is gray-haired at this moment. How should he face and accept this so-called new world? Su Ching, the man who the goddess of death is destined not to get, at Steve Rogers, don't think so much, it will always pass, and everything will have a solution. Even if there are some things that are not moved by our will, are there other ways besides accepting them? Perhaps, when you open your eyes again, you find that this world is actually not as bad as you thought. Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, yeah, Steve, although my father always used you to educate me before, I hated you very much for a while. But I think, after you recover, I will help you understand the world again. Natasha Romanoff, stop fighting, I jump off the cliff, everything is still with us. Don't worry, as for Ms. Peggy's matter, Steve, look a little away. At least, she is still alive now, isn't she? Seeing everyone in the group began to comfort and encourage themselves. Steve Rogers suddenly laughed. Steve Rogers, the little prince who wants to dance with her, at all members, everyone, rest assured, I am not such a vulnerable person. Don't worry about me, I just don't know how to face Peggy. But Sue is right, it will always pass, I have no other way besides accepting it. I think I will adapt slowly. Open black lens bracket Tony Stark, she said that she loves me 3,000 times, that's good. At Steve Rogers, man, it's the best that you can think so. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock in the evening now. At Wanda, are you ready for class? Today I will continue to tell you about the mathematical formulas that were not finished yesterday. Wanda, I have the final say if Shijiangjun is in chaos, ready. Pietro, keep that bullet away from me, I also hate math, it's so difficult. No, you just let them take it away. Inside Su Ching's shop. Watching a few guys respectfully took away all the weapons in the shop. Frank looked at Su Ching with some incomprehension. Didn't you say that the matter between you and Jin Bin was settled? Then why did they take away all the weapons in our store, leaving none of them? Furthermore, yesterday, Jin did not order the slaughter of the guys who broke your rules, but now they are taking away their weapons so furiously. If you are bullied, tell me, this time I don't need money to help you settle this matter. By doing this, they are breaking my job. I thought that Su Ching was threatened by Jin Bin, so he swallowed his breath and let Jin take away those weapons. Frank is a little angry at the moment. After all, he has long been used to working in Su Ching's shop. There are cigarettes, alcohol, and weekly salary. The most important thing is that the work is easy, so Frank does not want to lose it for the time being go to this job. Besides, his wife and children are all dead, and finally found a place with such a sense of belonging. Frank will never allow these guys to destroy it. Let them sigh. Seeing Frank narrowed his eyes, a trace of killing intent gradually began to condense. Su Ching took a bottle of soda from the shelf and drank it indifferently. After drinking, I glanced at the people who kept taking out some unnumbered weapons. In the future, we will no longer cooperate with the state police. I sold this hot potato to Jin Bin. Put the bottle on the counter. Su Ching smiled and said to Frank. Hearing what Su Ching said, Frank, who had a hint of killing intent in his eyes, instantly seemed to understand something, and then nodded. It's good to cut off contact with those guys. After all, as you often say, Shengni en do mi cho, although I don't quite understand this sentence, I still know what it means. Having said this, Frank looked at Su Ching and suddenly laughed. So, you made a lot of money. 30 million yuan per quarter, settled for 3 years first. As long as the gold does not die in one day, then this money will be constantly supplied to my account. After spreading his hands, Su Ching smiled at Frank. 30 million per quarter, then 120 million in 1 year, and 360 million in 3 years. Taking a surprised look at Su Ching, Frank immediately said righteously, I'm worth over 100 million so soon. I don't care, I want a raise. You are thinking about fart. Angrily pressed a middle finger to Frank, Su Ching unceremoniously refused Frank's request. Jin took over your business, which seemed to have cost a lot of money, but actually got in touch with the state police, so he is definitely not at a loss. After all, everyone knows his ambition. You got away from the vortex of this industry chain and got such a huge sum of money, so it is a win-win. Now both sides only remember you're good, this business is fine. After thinking for a while, Frank looked at Su Ching and suddenly said, but I think my weekly salary can be increased by 200. No way. 100 is fine. Just 50, do you want love? You grant it. Inside the apartment. Flight ability. After thoroughly handling the store's affairs, Su Ching returned to the apartment and carefully watched the newly acquired skill. The widow's sister answered the mind gem question correctly and achieved a skill leap. According to the system, with the widow's sister's physical fitness, she can jump to a height of 10 meters. And if you jump down from a height of less than 10 meters, you won't suffer any harm at all. It can be said that within 10 meters of the sky, there are hunting places for widows. And the perfect version of the leap that I have obtained, perhaps it should be more appropriate to use flight. At this moment, I can leap to an altitude of kilometers or even 10,000 meters without any effort, and stay in the air. This can be regarded as an auxiliary skill. Definitely, Su Ching is not stupid enough to fly directly into outer space. Even if he has the skill of death, he has 100 lives, he will not be so stupidly wasted. However, Su Ching is more concerned about his undead magic. After all, this undead magic hasn't been upgraded yet. At the same time, within S.H.I.E.L.D. What fark? You said Nick Fury and they found the place where Captain America Steve Rogers drove a fighter plane into the glacier. Looking at the bald Sidwell in front of him, Alexander Pierce asked in disbelief, could it be that the guy Steve Rogers has just been frozen for 70 years and hasn't died? That's it, sir. Hearing unbelievable inquiries from Alexander and Pierce, Sidwell quickly replied, after they discovered Steve Rogers' body, they started scanning, and they are now placed in a secret laboratory set up by Nick Fury. And the whole process is very secretly guarded. People in our action team want to get in and destroy the resurrection of Steve Rogers. I am afraid it will be very difficult. Are you an idiot? Hearing Sidwell's words, Alexander and Pierce took the papers on the table and threw them on Sidwell. Seeing Sidwell, who didn't dare to evade, Pierce couldn't help but reprimanded. Don't even think about this thing. Nick Fury must be very concerned about Steve Rogers being able to resurrect this thing. If our people do something at this time, wouldn't it be clear to tell Nick Fury that S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot be trusted and that there is Hydra in it? Can you move your mind? What the sir said. It is precisely because of this that I ordered our people not to do it. Instead, observe quietly. Hearing Sidwell say this, Alexander and Pierce were slightly relieved. If Steve Rogers can be resurrected, then let him be resurrected. An old guy who has been frozen for 70 years, what else is there any threat? Maybe after he recovers, he won't even be able to integrate into this world. What's more, S.H.I.E.L.D. is now under our control, even Nick Fury, I personally pushed to the position of S.H.I.E.L.D. director. Remember, our main purpose now is the Insight Plan. Nothing can affect our Insight Plan. As long as the Insight Plan is successful, then the whole world is ours. So what can a Steve Rogers, a man who has been out of the world for 70 years, what can he do? During this time, let our people all be safer. Who dares to reveal the identity, who dares to destroy the Insight Plan, then he is the biggest sinner of our Hydra, understand? And, thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.